Welcome back to Bat Fridays here on One Comic Book a Day, where we're covering the final story in Batman number 13, Destination Unknown. It is a mystery story on a train, and actually it has a pretty good setup. Usually the comic has to rush through a lot of the setup to the point that you only really get like a red herring and one suspect. Here we do get a few groups of people with somewhat interesting stories. Still not a lot of time to focus on them, but we do get an establishment. There is someone in an iron lung who has to have his nurses with him at all times. There is a radio show host that's looking for an oddity. There is a police officer transferring a prisoner who recently escaped and taking him back to prison. And finally, there is what looks to be a hobo, though he's fairly nicely dressed, jumping onto the bottom of the train to ride the rails because he gets there at the last minute. So there's like four groups of people, one not really a group of people, who are on this train. And all four are sort of established and have their own little plot line. The actual mystery part starts with someone knocking out the engineer and sending the train full speed across the tracks as it's becoming unstable. Sort of like the movie Unstoppable. Batman has to show up, fight someone in the shadows who's wearing a parachute and has a gun, and then is able to stop the train at the next stop. No one actually gets off the train or seems all that bothered with it. It's a really weird moment because they never actually do a scene with the people on the train being panicked or worried or any sort of stakes or rising of tension when it comes to the people on board potentially dying. They get completely ignored until the train stops. We do see people panicking at the rails and across the country until someone summons Batman, who Bruce Wayne and Robin are in a romantic lake boat ride with Robin completely laying down and Bruce pulling the things. It also may be evening. I'm not 100% certain if it's daylight. It's sort of dark. It would be hard to see the bat signal. So I just want to point out that's one of the weird moments when it comes to Batman and Robin. Maybe not as weird as that time Batman woke up Robin in the middle of the night for his birthday spankings. So Batman's now involved, and we get more of each of these people, including Batman tying up the hobo who gets freed by the secretary of the radio show host. As the train starts back up, we progress with more of the plot lines. The hobo gets more on the train, and the prisoner escapes, knocking out the police officer who was in charge of him. So setting up several red herrings of what's going on, but it all comes down to the nurses because, well, no one's really been paying attention to them. They've been locked into monitoring the patient, so of course it's going to turn out to be them. And they've been really rude to anybody who's tried anything. The story has been trying to keep them out of it, and that's a huge clue that they're responsible. Yeah, they turn out to be the guys who actually committed the murder that the prisoner was locked up for. So they're trying to get rid of him in case it ever comes out that he can prove his innocence. But Batman takes them out, and they freely admit it after being captured, like an episode of Columbo, because we don't have time to deal with this. You're just going to admit it as soon as Columbo tells you how he's figured it all out. Instead of how you should do it, deny, deny, deny. This is all circumstantial, Columbo. I've been watching too much Columbo. But for a mystery in a 14 to 20 page issue in the Golden Age, it's actually pretty well done. I have to applaud them. They've successfully pushed up some plots, all of them having some sort of solution, from the iron lung guy getting fixed, but also his nurses being responsible. The hobo turns out to be a rich man who got tired of his life and decided to go out for an adventure and has fallen in love with the secretary. That's not set up very well, but it seems to have happened. And the prisoner being innocent. So all have like an ending. I have to applaud this story. Though I have to bring up that in one panel where we see them all eating dinner, there is very racist caricatures of African American men. Whenever I see these characters, I remember comic book writer Dwayne McDuffie making the argument of the way African Americans were drawn at that time was so subhuman that he doesn't think that anyone would actually believe that these people were actual people. That's how poorly they were drawn, how like awfully the caricatures of African American people are done. So that's a massive blight to this issue. And it needs to be established before you read it, that it does have a horribly racist panel. So that is it from Batman 13. Destination Unknown. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Hit the bell icon to get notification when new video is up. I do this Monday through Friday, but Mondays and Thursdays I cover a Superman story in either Action Comics or Superman. And please join us next time, same Bat Day, same comic book channel. Have a great day.